In this episode, we debunk the myth that self-care is selfish. Welcome, and I'm so glad that you're here. Here we talk about personal development, relationships, and mental health, just to name a few. My name is Carmen, a registered counsellor who is passionate about coming alongside people. This podcast is designed to create a discussion and bring awareness, with each episode encouraging, equipping, and empowering you to live your best life. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode. How are you? I hope you've been keeping well, and I'm so glad that we get to spend the next few minutes together. Yesterday, I celebrated 5 years of being in private practice. I took the afternoon off and went to one of my favourite restaurants for lunch. I ordered a delicious bowl of pasta, and it was a lovely afternoon. I spent some time reflecting on all that has been and all that I'm grateful for. So on that note, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for being a part of the journey, and I look forward to all that is ahead. In the last episode, I mentioned that I was working on a project. If you are on the mailing list or if we are connected on social media, you may have noticed that I am offering a free self-care workshop because I believe self-care is for everybody. In my line of work as a counsellor, I understand how important self-care is, not only for myself and my clients, but for you also. Sometimes it may appear that self-care is a preference, but instead it's all about taking care of ourselves well. Self-care is a necessity. In my comings and goings, I often hear a theme around self-care, and that doing something nice for ourselves can feel selfish. And I'm here to tell you differently. Self-care is not being selfish, but rather being self-full. It's about considering ourselves as well as others. Self-care is all about not neglecting ourselves or others in the process. So, do I have your attention? Are you providing adequate attention to your physical, social, spiritual, and psychological wellness? Are you empowered to take care of your own basic needs? Self-care is anything we do to take care of ourselves. And yes, there are some things that others can do for us, but ultimately, self-care is for us to take responsibility for. So there are a few self-care myths, and one of them is that self-care is selfish. An example of this is, when you finally do something for yourself, do you feel bad for it? Do you feel guilty? Usually there is an underlying message as to why we feel this way. According to Psychology Today, when we neglect self-care, all other areas of our lives are neglected as well, such as our relationships, mental health, productivity, creativity, and resilience. On the flip side, if we self-care, we can better take care of our relationships and mental health. Our productivity and creativity may increase, as well as resilience in the face of resistance. Self-care enhances how we turn up and impacts those around us for the better. Is there any evidence that self-care is selfish when we see self-care through this lens. What I appreciate the most about self-care is that it can look different for each of us. While the foundations are built upon our physical, psychological, social, and spiritual wellness, there's different components that we can implement, and we determine how that implementation takes place. So I am not one to tell you how you should practice self-care, but rather empower and equip you to establish that for yourself, if you wish to. If you would like to learn more about self-care, join me in the free self-care workshop that you can do in your own time. I will equip you to understand what self-care is and why it's important. We will look at the different aspects of well-being, some barriers as to why we don't take care of ourselves the way we ought, and, of course, prioritizing pleasant events. To gain more information, head over to carmendebono.com.au/learn. During our time together, we looked at the self-care myth that self-care is selfish. If we have a negative connotation linked to taking care of ourselves, I wonder if we are less likely to take the time and prioritize the care we need to promote well-being. So I'll leave you with these thoughts, and I encourage you to really think about it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get in contact. And you can do that by emailing me at info@carmendebono.com.au. And in the meantime, you take good care of yourself like I know you will. Bye for now. So that's it for today's episode. As always, I'm grateful for the opportunity to come alongside you. If you know someone who might benefit from hearing this episode, why not share it with them? Don't want to miss an episode? You can subscribe to the podcast, and if you are listening via Apple Podcast, I would be most grateful if you would leave a review. For more content, head over to carmendebono.com.au, and I look forward to coming alongside you again on the first Wednesday of the month.